Gundam.tk presents Penelope Gundam. Hey again everybody, it's Robert184, two R2Bs from Gundam.tk, which is GundamReviews.net, and spinning around right there is the Gundam Fixed Figuration, not Penelope Gundam. You'll see that in a minute. Don't forget that you can check out my unbox of this kit, which also includes the Cassie Gundam, which you can see in an earlier part. Being a fixed figuration figure, when you take off all of these parts which make up the Cassie Gundam, you're going to be left with the Odysseus Gundam, and you're going to have all these extra parts for the flight pack which are going to attach to eventually turn that into the Penelope. So first to the unarmored form, where you're going to see a Gundam that by itself is looking pretty cool. I don't know how it ranks up there in terms of all the leads, but it's got all the right colors in all the right places. A few parts seem to be a little bit disproportionate, but that's because ultimately it was designed to have a lot more bulk on it. Some of the things that you'll notice probably right away is that it's got white feet instead of the blue of the Cassie and the red of the Penelope. It does have these strange things which are sticking up, Alex type things there. A very large waist skirt which isn't looking too sharp back there, but then again you're going to be seeing it from the front. The shields are looking good on either arm, which is cool, and the shoulders don't have that blue part sticking down below that the Cassie does. And something that's sort of interesting is when you're taking this guy apart, being a fixed figuration, things, a million parts come on and off and detach and retach. And basically you're actually going to pop the whole shoulder unit out and put on a unique one, which goes along with this sort of baby blue coupler there. So you do have a smaller set of shoulders here than you will on either of the other two. For a close-up of the upper body, you can see here that all the vents and all the chests, all the colors are exactly the way they should be. You can see the Katoki markings all over the place, red on white, and then you've got the white on the blue. The head has a few paint apps that I'm not too crazy about, but anyway, it's about to be covered up by a whole bunch more armor. For articulation, you can expect this guy to be a little bit better than the Cassie, and the legs are not going to go forward very far, nor off to the side, but you are still going to get that 90-degree bend. The ankles are going to move like this, and front and back. Be careful because you've actually got this white part on the ball joint that most of these GFF things are attached onto. The waist is going to rotate ever so slightly. I won't, hardly at all actually. And then you're going to get the shoulders can go around like this, pop the head off, and then you can rotate the shoulders around there, and you can't bend them up if you've got the shield on the 90 degrees. If you pop that shield off though, you'd be able to get it up 90. For height comparison, here it is next to the high grade age 1 normal, and it's looking pretty sharp overall. It's much taller as it should be, though it wouldn't necessarily be the same 26 meters as the Cassie, just because it's already got the feet off, which should just make it a little bit shorter. But overall, the proportions are good, the colors are good, and it does really look like a much more detailed and bulked out and expensive toy than a $10 high grade. Which at the moment is all attached here to this flight pack, which is sort of interesting because it doesn't include, like I said, any of the parts of the Cassie Gundam. Everything that's here is just going to be the Odysseus plus this to make up the Penelope, and it's really cool actually to put this whole thing together. The only thing that I've got to point out is that you're going to have to follow the directions, you're going to have to follow them very carefully. If you're used to Gundam plastic models where you get really laid out, nicely laid out Gundams details, and they're going to tell you do this first, do this second, with this you're going to get nothing. Some of the things, they're zoomed out too far, you can't quite see what's what. So anyway, if you're trying to put things together, just be very, very careful and allow yourself some time. This probably took me about 20 minutes to put it together. That being the first time, I'm sure it would take less time there. But anyway, overall, I think the looks of this are much better than I expected. The front is looking pretty crazy with all of these many different cockpit looking things. The yellow parts here certainly stand out along with that. You can see the layering that they've got there. In the back, you may be able to notice that there's actually the red feet are attached on here. So when this guy heads into the battle, think of it like anything from Seed or Seed Destiny, where it's taking everything that's needed, including footwear. A few of the things, if you try to move it too much, you can expect things are going to fall off. There's just a single pin running up and down through the middle that you're going to have to be careful of. If everything's not squeezed onto there well, then things are going to fall out. You can have these parts on the wings, they can fall off pretty easily. But a few of the things that I really like, besides the markings obviously and the yellow color scheme that sticks out so well, is these guns that point forward. Those are maneuverable, so you can have them shooting off to either side. The tail section can move ever so slightly up and down if you choose to, but otherwise you're not going to have a lot of articulation other than the fact that this just looks like a beast. Here's one of the stranger comparisons you'll see on Gundam.tk, but there you have the flight unit, the age 1 normal, and Fun Psyche, and depending on how you want to line them up, you can just see that Fun Psyche is a lot taller, especially with that base attached onto it. But in terms of length, with an aerial shot here, maybe you can make out that the flight unit is going to be just a little bit longer thanks to that extra length from the tail. I think seeing these two together is actually really sharp because you know that that is just going to attach on, as you're about to see. The only problem being is that if you really want to get him onto the base, things are just going to start to look a little bit less attractive for display purposes. So you're probably going to have him a little bit separated, and besides, his name isn't written on the base, so I suppose that just means fate means he's not supposed to be there. And when you add all of these parts, and when it's all finished, you have the most non-Gundam-y looking Gundam I think anybody has ever seen. First of all, the visual impact. I don't really know what to say about this besides the fact that it's ridiculous. It's almost lost in there that this is a biped Gundam walking around. The head is covered under 2 layers there. The back of the legs, I think, look fantastic with that 3-part split there. You can actually see the yellow if you look at it from underneath. You can see here that it's got this part, and this part above the head, which all just add to the ridiculous nature of it. The tail fins are cool, and they do move ever so slightly, similar to what you saw before. The shield generators on the arms certainly don't look out of place like they did with the Odysseus Gundam, just because it's a lot bigger now. You're going to have to be a lot careful though, because when I was at the top here, there's a few parts, and if you're actually trying to bend these down into place, you can break them. So having a broken part like this, it's not like Gunpla, you can just order a replacement if you've got that opportunity. So something you have to be very careful with everything you do. If a part doesn't want to come out, just have some patience, use a knife, and try not to scratch it up too much. I don't have any high hopes here for mobility, so the legs are going to move as you saw before. They're going to give you the 90 actually, despite having that much bulk on there. The feet, when you attach them over the white part here, you don't lose any mobility. They're going to be able to go front and back, but I've noticed now that these hips are just feeling a little bit loose once you start to add all of this extra armor onto it. The shoulders, if you try to do anything with them up here, are actually going to split the front and the part and the back, so don't expect too much about that. You can see there that it just opened. Because the shield, which is a good idea, except for the fact that it can go around here, it's got these bending points which have sort of got broken a little bit as they rub past this shoulder part that protrudes, but you can see there that it can pop everything off, and if you try to bend it in the back, it's just going to hit this and get in the way. Now for height comparison, you can guess that the Penelope is going to crush every single Gundam that there is in existence, unless you want to count the Psycho in there, or the Mark II. The normal just looks very, very small, and it's especially when you're going to do something like this, put them at 45s, and then this way, that you just get an idea of how big the Penelope is overall. And with this cheatingly raised up off the ground, here it is compared to the master grade, full armor, Unicorn Gundam. The Penelope actually gives it a run for its size, despite the fact that it's a little bit undersized, even for a 1/144th. And I'm talking about here in terms of sheer volume. For arming options for the Cassie, you can just use this hand and the beam sabers. You're going to get 2 of those. For this one though, you've got a bent beam rifle, which right out of the package is not looking the way it should. For posing, one option that you are going to have with the Kasui is plugging this into the shield generators, as you can see there, but again, you've just got to be careful because I've already bent those white parts there right out of shape. You can actually turn the head more than I expected, although you can't really expect it to follow looking down the angle of the beam rifle. And the legs are actually offset here ever so slightly, so you can get a somewhat dynamic pose. If you consider that to be dynamic, there's not really much more. Because with the arms here, the shoulders, there's really nothing you can do with that except bring the arm exactly as you see here. And even then, as I mentioned, you've just really got to be careful with those small parts back there. So that'll wrap up my look at the Penelope and the Odysseus Gundam, but don't forget to stay tuned for my verdict, where I talk about all the good and bad things about not just these two, but about the Cassie Gundam itself and the whole GFF line, etc. And more importantly, since this is one of my first toy reviews, I've only done one of the X3, I'd love to hear your opinion about GFF and lots more. Anytime with a comment down below or on my front page. Anyway, everybody, Robert184, gundam.tk, thanks for checking this out, and stay tuned for lots more reviews of models and every once in a while something like this thrown in just because. Thanks for watching. See ya. And sadly, even though the Nobel Gundam had a GFF figure, Fun Psyche did not receive that honor.